Nuclei, and this is a quick video, or a video, on the third house in astrology, which is the house of communication, transportation, and lower education. And it's basically the house of our basic functioning and our basic ability to function and navigate our world. Its polarity is the ninth house, the house of higher education. If a person has a weak house of higher education, then we would probably call them a rube, right? Like, there's someone who just fell off the turnip truck. They don't speak French. They don't know Russian history. But that person could still function well in life, right? They could still have a family, a job, own their own land, and be a totally functional person. Conversely, if your third house is challenged, you can't function effectively. You are basically special needs. You can't make it in the world on your own. You could be physically or mentally handicapped. But the third house is everything, all the forms of intelligence that it takes to be a functional human in the world. So you can see why this is an insanely important house, even though it's not necessarily that glamorous. The ninth house contains our dreams, but the third house contains our ability to actually achieve our dreams, right? Because it's how well can we actually function. So if you're the sort of person who has castles in the air, you have big dreams, but you can't really achieve them because your daily functioning sucks, then you need to beef up your third house. Our third house also determines our ability to have successful relationships, both marriage and friendships. So if your relationships suck, you need to beef up your third house. A third house determines our ability to make money, even though it's not directly about money, but it determines our ability to make it. So if you're poor, you need to beef up your third house. There's lots of ways. If your external life is just kind of not working out that well, you probably need to start with your third house. So how do you do that? Well, basically our third house is our confidence and our ability to solve the problems that we encounter in daily life. And it requires us to be diverse, flexible, and adaptable. So I mean, one way a person can really build up their third house is just to change their attitude towards daily unglamorous tasks and inconveniences, right? If a person sees them as a free education that they're getting from God to help them achieve their true potential, then they can really get into resolving and tackling those daily challenges. If a person's like, oh, I don't have time for this, and they resent the challenges, they might not give them their all, and they might not light up their brain and their third house as much as they possibly could. Another thing is to notice the sorts of things that you tell yourself you can't do, right? Like, you could be like a business lady who's fixing her kids' lunches for school, but the drain gets clogged. You're like, ah, honey, help! Because you think, for some reason, you think you can't figure out how to unclog a drain, but you can't. Or you could be a husband who can fix everything, but the wife walks in and she's like, honey, do I look fat? And he's like, what? That's complicated. Why are you asking me that? Right? Because for some reason, he's telling himself that he can't resolve the simple problem of his wife coming in and wanting some form of emotional reassurance, right? All he has to do is step back, use his brain, figure out what she's needing, give it to her, and bam, his life flows smoothly, right? So a big thing for making our third houses stronger is being willing to do that types of mental work and problem solving that we normally tell ourselves we can't do. Because it's all about being a flexible and versatile person. Now, when it comes to the third house, here's one thing you have to remember. Let's say that you are flexible and versatile in the sense that you can fix drains, you can drive a unicycle, you can do all these different things. You could survive if you were dropped in the jungle. Well, none of that really matters because the third house isn't about your ability to survive in a jungle or to survive after the apocalypse. It's about your ability to survive in the human world before the apocalypse takes place. And in the human world, pre-apocalypse, communication is king. And communication is really the most important thing in the third house. If you suck at everything else, but you're great at communication, you're going to be okay. And if you can't communicate, but you're great at everything else, you're fucked. So whenever you have third house problems, if you need an easy place to start, you want to start with gaining the ability to communicate and getting on top of your communications. And in the third house, communication is not about public speaking or being really articulate or anything. It's really just about, can you just say what you mean? Like, you see a charge on your bank account and you don't know why it's there. Can you pick up the phone and be like, hey, I see a charge on my bank account. I don't know why it's there. Can you just call the bank and make that phone call? Or are you the sort of person who'll be like, oh, I don't want to call them. And so you spend like days like letting it sort of stew in the back of your mind and not taking any action because you have some kind of block that makes you afraid to just pick up the phone and say what you need to say. So if you need to strengthen your third house, I would say that's like really the number one thing to begin with, is become the sort of person who simply and clearly says what you need to say, right? And this is in both emotional relationship context, but also in business context, right? Or dealing with impersonal entities. It's just about being willing to go in, look at what's happening, and say what you need to say, ask what you need to ask, right? Like if someone asks you to do something and you're busy, you can just say, immediately respond, thank you, but I'm busy, right? So you don't have to let it sit for 6 days before you say you're busy because you're too afraid to say no. That's the sort of thing that clogs up the third house. Basically, it's a mental house, right? Where you need to be able to engage the world on a mental level without allowing too much emotion to come in, right? So it's like, even in a relationship, you don't want emotion to clog your ability to simply say clearly what's real, what you need, what you want. Even if you're saying how you felt, you can just be like, that hurt my feelings when you said that. You could just say that up front rather than having like some big drama that lasts for the next 3 years. You know what I mean? The more a person can simply address situations head on through simple, emotionless communication, the easier everything gets in the third house. So that is really, if you want one place to start, that is really where to start. And that's why the third house is ruled by the color yellow, right? So if you want to strengthen your third house, you could wear yellow every Wednesday while catching up with your third house activities, because yellow it's outgoing, but it's mental. It's not like crying in a corner, right? It's just like, it's making things cheery, crisp, and clear, And that works in both personal relationships and impersonal relationships. So if you are having third house issues, there's two main types. One is you are overwhelmed. You're like drowning in a million different tasks that you have to perform. The second one is you're underwhelmed. You basically don't have enough challenge and stimulation in your life, so you're slowly turning into a brain dead potato. And if you're the person turning into a potato, then really the best way to start jumpstarting your life would be through communication, right? Like, change your life so that you have more opportunities to communicate on a daily basis, whether that is getting a job at McDonald's just so you can ask people if they want fries with their burger, or it could be engaging people on social media, or whatever it takes so that you're communicating with more people. So it's going to start your brain firing. It's going to build your brain, it's going to build your circuits and start to slowly strengthen you and open up your life, right? And keep you from dying. Because the third house, another positive thing about the third house is that it keeps us from being depressed. Sometimes when people are depressed, it's just because they're too mushy and globby and emotional, and they don't have enough of that pep and that crisp light in their life, right? And the third house brings the crispness. It brings the light, right? So our brain is firing. We're like, ee! And we're not like, oh, So if you're getting to, you want to start by making sure that you have enough communication in your life. And it doesn't have to be deep at all. It absolutely does not matter what you are communicating about. It's simply the act of communication that lights up this house. Now, on the other hand, if you are the person who's drowning in crisps and you can't keep up with all the practical tasks of your life, then communication is also the first place that you'd want to begin gaining control. Like you would want to like you can do it on a Wednesday, wear yellow, right? And start by getting it caught up with your emails, getting caught up with all your paperwork, because all that stuff is communication. And then once you get caught up, stay on top of it on a daily basis. Because if you can clean out the clogs of backlogged messages, both personal and impersonal, and get on top of that stuff, then that's going to remove the main clog from this drain and allow everything to start flowing more smoothly again. So yeah, the third house rules all skills which enable us to navigate our world. But if you can communicate, then you can compensate for whatever skills you lack. You can gain whatever skills you lack. You're going to be okay. So that's the one message I'd kind of like to convey today, is that if you need to strengthen your third house, begin with learning how to communicate. And by communicate, it doesn't even mean be assertive, or it just means pretend just be a brain, don't be assertive, don't be nice, just be crisp, clear, and neutral, like a robot or something. A happy robot, and learn to clarify what it is you need to say, what it is you need to ask, what your answer is, what you want, whatever, and just say it, right? And don't wait 3 days to say it. Just get used to saying it as things come up, like Lemon Crisp, right? That's your new name, is Lemon Crisp. So thank you. This is a video on the third house in astrology. I'm Julie Neckley. Thank you. Bye.